Good evening. This week, the kick-off firing line returns with Willie Morgan of Bolton Wanderers. And we're also joined in the studio by Billy Ashcroft, Wrexham's FA Cup hero. Obviously, the weather is having a big say in the shape of tomorrow's football. And later in the programme, we'll give you details of how it has already affected clubs from the northwest. Nevertheless, we've a lot of exciting action, and we can let that lead us into the major news story of the week. On Saturday, Everton won their first match since the arrival of Duncan McKenzie and Bruce Rioch. Their victims in a third-round FA Cup tie were Stoke City.
Backheel by McKenzie. McKenzie again. King. And into space comes Lyons to score. Robinson setting McKenzie free and going on to keep him company. But this is going to be a McKenzie solo, and it's going to be a penalty. Duncan McKenzie versus Peter Shilton. McKenzie!
Everton successfully over the first hurdle in the FA Cup. Next Tuesday, they play the first of two games against Bolton that could take them to Wembley for the final of the League Cup. But Cup success was not enough to save Billy Bingham, Everton's manager for the past 3.5 years. He was sacked on Monday evening. The news was given to him at the home of John Moores, Everton's vice-chairman and multimillionaire benefactor. Mr Moores has long been the driving force behind Everton's readiness to provide their managers with virtually unlimited resources. He is also a man of exacting standards. As, for example, John Carey discovered in April 1961 when he was relieved of the managership with Everton fourth in the First Division. Even so, as he told Paul Doherty, he was surprised by Billy Bingham's dismissal.
Well, it did surprise me a little bit, when it happened, but I was expecting it some time before then, when Everton weren't doing very well. But when they had the success in the League Cup, I thought perhaps then he'd got over the worst part of it.
One of the powerful voices to emerge at Goodison, despite him not being chairman at the moment, is John Moores. What's your opinion of him?
Well, Mr Moores and I had a very good relationship. He was always the chairman, and he listened to anything I had to suggest, and he was very good. I have no complaints at all about Mr Moores.
Was he ever a taskmaster?
Well, I don't know. Mr Moores had a burning ambition for Everton, and when I was manager, of course, so did I. So we were completely on the same wavelength as far as that was concerned.
And yet, John, there was that day of infamy when he sacked you in a taxi ride in London in April 1961.
Yes, well, I don't know. I don't think it was planned to do it that way, but when we came out of a meeting, we were down for the meeting when the players' contracts, the maximum wage was abolished, and we've been talking about ways and means of doing this. Evidently, the news leaked out somehow, and he was confronted by a journalist on the pavement as we came out of the Café Royal. And I think then, of course, he realised that he'd got to tell me that the board had already made this decision, that I should be relieved from my duties.
What were your feelings at his words?
Well, I was quite shocked, of course, naturally, because I honestly didn't think that I was going to be sacked. Because on the day that I left Everton, they were fourth in the First Division.
And so the demands were that heavy, were they?
Well, the demands were always heavy. The fourth is not probably good enough. Number one position is the only one that matters.
And is that John Moore's ambition?
Oh yes, I would say that is Mr Moore's ambition, for Everton to be the best club in Britain and in Europe.
And he won't rest until he gets the manager who puts them there?
That's his ambition, and as I say, he's a very determined man, and he wants to have this. So I don't envy the chap who gets the job. His standards will have to be very high.
John Carey's successor was Harry Catterick. Under his management, Everton were league champions twice and FA Cup finalists twice. But after a serious illness, he found himself unable to regain his former position. Harry Catterick joins us in the studio with Paul Doherty.
Harry, having heard John Carey's parting words there, I wonder whether you would envy the man who eventually gets the Everton job.
Well, my personal opinion is that whoever gets the Everton job will be asked to do many things, but after all, this is what football's all about, winning trophies, and all the facilities are there at Everton. I don't think any man could want more availability of talent and means to win trophies.
Are the demands for success quite intolerable then?
No, I don't think so. It depends on the personality of the individual taking the job. He's got to have ambition himself to want to win, and after all, it's a competitive game. and winning trophies. Being second's no good, you want to be first. And I think every competitor should have this.
Were you surprised at Billy Bingham's departure, considering he was about to face the League Cup semi-final?
Well, of course, I don't think everyone will know necessarily all the reasons for this, and that's purely a personal matter between Billy Bingham and the board of directors. Publicly, of course, the facts are that he was in the semi-final of a competition when he was fired, and looking at it from that point, it was a surprise.
Why does John Moore still appear to be the driving force at Goodison Park when he's no longer chairman?
Because I feel he is the man fired with the ambition, which I think all people should have in the game. And as a chairman, I feel that he has this ambition to want Everton to be at the top. And after all chairmen should have that.
Now, you were with the club 12 years as manager. What kind of a relationship did you have with him?
Well, I had a good one. I was always allowed to manage. I made many decisions, major ones. I could always justify them. And I had no interference whatsoever from John Moores, none.
Was he a taskmaster in any way?
Yes, but there again, so is a manager to his players, and I don't think you can quibble about that.
Now, you won a fair share of prizes, and as I said, you were there 12 years. What about the parting of the ways? How did he breach that news to you?
Well, I went down to his office, and he informed me then that he felt that I had not made the sort of recovery at that time to enable me to carry on where I'd left off.
Was he very sympathetic, or was it a hard decision you made?
Well, he was sympathetic. Of course, you've got to bear in mind we'd had a long relationship and we'd won a couple of championships. We'd been to Wembley twice. So, you know, he was speaking to someone who had brought this success that he demanded. And I think it was a hard decision for him to make.
In your opinion, knowing all the background there, who would you think is a candidate for the Everton job, would do a good job there?
Well, I don't think anyone can do that job successfully who hasn't got a fair amount of experience. He must be an experienced man. Anyone short of that will fall down on it.
Thank you very much, Harry.
Another view on a job which seems to have as many runners and as many dark horses and as many tipsters as the Grand National. One thing Everton have succeeded in this week, they've stolen most of the Merseyside headlines. But Liverpool have been in the news in 2 cup competitions. First, the draw for the quarter-finals of the European Cup matched them with last season's beaten finalists, Saint Etienne, the champions of France. And we can give you some idea of their ability with the goals that took them into the semi-final in 1976. This is the second leg against Dynamo Kiev, which Saint Etienne started 2 goals down.
A good thrusting run down the centre of the field, a nice first-time flick here, and into the 6-yard area as the Russians hesitate. There's Piazza putting it past Rudakov to put the French side 1-0 into the lead. Their second goal came from a free kick there after 71 minutes by Larka, and that put the sides level on aggregate. We now move into extra time, and a good run here by Senegal, turning the Russians one way, then the other. It's turned inside, and Rocheteau finally gets the goal that puts Saint Etienne into the semi-finals.
The day Liverpool heard the news of their next opponents in Europe, they were battling to stay alive in the FA Cup. After an unimpressive goalless draw with Crystal Palace at Anfield, they went to Selhurst Park for the replay. We can pick up this game in the second half with the score 1-1, and Liverpool here in the dark strip on the attack down the left through Kevin Keegan, who was really the star of the evening as far as Liverpool were concerned. Running at defenders here, Steve Highway, number 9, just accelerating a wee bit, turning and pulling the ball in off the far post to make it 2-1. Now in comes Phil Neal here to win that ball, and away goes Jimmy Case outside him, number 8 there, to take the pass in space with time to see who's coming to support him, and it's in fact Steve Highway again, his second goal of the game, and that's now 3-1 to Liverpool in the replay and on their way. But there was still one final throw to come from Crystal Palace, who'd certainly not been disgraced over the 2 games. George Graham, number 8, coming in to make it 3-2. But Liverpool are through to a 4th round tie against Carlisle. Another team involved in a midweek replay were Wrexham, who'd seen a 2-goal lead evaporate at Sunderland on Saturday. Billy Ashcroft was carried off on a stretcher at Roker Park, but he recovered in time to play a crucial role at the racecourse ground.
Sutton giving it a try against Bolton, and he won it. Now Shinton looking for Ashcroft, who very nearly capitalised on that. Sigielski. And Whittle is in there, going hard. Tried it beautifully. Superbly shot on the turn, then well saved by Barry Siddle. Goes away for the corner. Roberts lost this one. Holden gets it for Rowell. It's a good-looking ball. Good-looking try. Bob Lee on the end of that one. Ashcroft. The ball didn't run for him. It does now. And he's knocked it into net. Billy Ashcroft scores his 17th goal of the season.
Billy, the season seems to be going very satisfactorily for Wrexham and for you personally, but I suppose that goal was certainly one of the most important.
Well, it was important, a bit special to me, because I took a bit of a battering on Saturday, and it was nice to put the nail in the coffin. You know,
Did you think you'd thrown it away on Saturday?
Yes, towards the end. I thought we'd done enough getting the 2 goals to beat them, and they came back from the dead, and we had to do it all over again at Wrexham.
Now, there's quite a little duel developing at the racecourse ground this season between you and Bobby Shinton.
Oh, yeah. He's a good player, Bobby. Yeah, he says he's never scored as many goals since he's been here, and it's the same with myself.
So obviously something is happening between the two of you. What is it?
I don't know, we seem to understand each other, and the 3 forwards have scored 44 goals this season, which we've never had anyone in double figures, 3 players in double figures before. So I think we're complementing each other's play.
And still half the season to go.
Yeah, we're looking forward to more goals, yes.
But in fact, the major objective for you must still be to get promotion from the 3rd division. But the Welsh Cup's important to you because it's always been a route into Europe for you. You're obviously not going to throw away the FA Cup. The weather is complicating things. Are you worried about fixture congestion?
Not really. We play every game as it comes. But we could have done with playing a few more league games to stay at the top. But as we say, we take them one at a time, and we all play 23 games away and 23 games at home a season. So if we're good enough, we'll go up.
Yes, but you may have to be playing them at 3 a week towards the end of the season.
We could be playing into next season the way things are going, yeah.
Are you confident of really winning something this season?
Yes, I think we will win something this season. If we don't win anything, I think it's, there's no rewards in football, there's no justice. Because we've been playing so well this season that we deserve at least promotion.
I'd go along with that. Billy, thank you very much for coming to join us. We'll be taking a short break shortly, but let's just wrap up the Cup replays with another important goal. This one from the second meeting of West Bromwich Albion and Manchester City. City are in the dark strip. Kenny Clements here taking the throw in. There's a quick free kick here. Dennis Stewart, as soon as the whistle blows, has played the ball and on for Kenny Clements, who'd run into a good position, and Joe Royal is credited with the final touch that puts Manchester City through, though not at the first attempt, nor by the 3-goal margin our computer suggested last week. In fact, over the 12 games it considered, the computer came up with 4 absolutely correct, and in 5 other matches it was just 1 goal out. Its most spectacular boob, as my correspondence has reminded me, was over Chester, the only North West team it suggested would lose. So on Monday morning we fed into the computer Southend United 0, Chester 4, and asked it what it thought about that. Welcome back to more action, and this features Manchester United and their visitors tomorrow, Coventry City. In recent seasons, Coventry have done better than most at Old Trafford. Their last 4 visits have produced 2 draws and 2 wins, including this in December 1973.
Maguire for Cartwright. Acceleration made something of it, and Steen's header! Now, was that in? Looked to me as though Stepney pulled it back from over the line, and the referee has given it. Greenoff. West. Nice dummy and shot, yes! Alderson on a run. Still Alderson. Yes! 2-1. Greenoff. Akari. And that's a very good goal indeed by Morgan. 16. Looking it on for cross. 3-2.
A reminder of how a few faces have changed at Old Trafford in the past 3 years. But we're now about to meet one of the goal scorers from that match in the kick-off firing line. And this week it's welcome to Scottish international Willie Morgan. Since that Manchester United match we saw just now, Willie has had a second spell with his original club Burnley, and now he's an established favourite with a new bunch of fans at Burnden Park. And it did seem, Willie, as though there was one question that everyone in Bolton wanted to ask, so Ralph Bolton of Springfield House, Adlington, speaks for them all.
Willie, do you think Bolton are capable of beating Everton in the League Cup?
Well, Ralph, it's a difficult question. Obviously, Everton are a very good team. They've got a lot of good players, and I can only say that Bolton will do the best, and I hope we can get through. I've never been to any cup final to play in, so I'm hoping that we can get there.
Is it an advantage to you to be playing over two legs?
Yeah, I think it is. If we can get any result at Everton at all, I'm sure that we'll be able to beat them when we get them back to Bolton.
All right, let's turn to questioner number 2 then. He's Stephen Buchanan. He lives at Corson Street in Bolton, and this is what he wants to know.
Willie, what do you feel about your former club, Manchester United and Burnley?
Well, Stephen, Burnley, it was rather unfortunate for me to go back there because I got so many injuries when I went back that I just didn't get a chance to play at all. As far as United is concerned, I had some great years there, and it was only at the end that it got rather sour. So I've enjoyed playing for both clubs.
And what do you feel about Manchester United's position now? Are they a great side, a good side in the making, an overrated side? What are they?
Well, I've watched them quite a bit since I've left, and obviously this year when things haven't gone so well, I don't feel it's the players. My own personal opinion, it's the manager, and I think that when he goes, I'm sure that the rejoicing in Manchester will be like winning the European Cup again. And I think once that happens, then they'll be a good club again.
Aren't people going to say that's sour grapes, will it?
Yeah, sure. Possibly it is. But I think that talking to the people that I do speak to and see every day, and that is nearly all Manchester United supporters, they all feel the same. Not because of what happened to me, but what's happened, throughout his 3 years there, or 3.5 years that he's been there. So I think I'm sure, what they say, that they'll be delighted when he goes.
All right, let's move on to another of your new fans at Burnden Park. This one is Stuart Ball of Harwood Vale, Bolton, and he wonders if you can explain this.
Willie, how is it that you've managed to regain your form at Bolton and you couldn't manage to do this at Burnley?
I've just said in the previous question that when I was at Burnley, when I went back to Burnley, I got a lot of injuries, and I think the most games I played consecutive was about 2 or 3. Apart from that, I spent about 5-6 months on the treatment table, so I didn't really get a chance to get started. And of course, since going to Bolton, I've been very fortunate. I've had no injuries, and I've got back into a rhythm again. And really, that's how it is.
That brings us then to question number 4. And to Mark Wells, whose address is Auckland Drive in Salford.
Willie Morgan, who was the best football manager did you ever play under?
Well, I think it goes without saying, Mark. Sir Matt Busby is obviously the best that I've ever played under, and I think I've had the distinction of playing under so many managers, and I like to feel that, as I say, I've played under the best manager there's ever been. And also, about the worst manager there's ever been. So...
You've had your say about Tommy Docherty. What was so good about Matt?
Well, Matt, I think his record and the way he handled players and people, he had a lot of dignity about him. He never went about talking about other players and other teams. And he was great to work for. It's something that he had. It's hard to say what it was, but it's something it had.
All right, I'd like to find time just for one last questioner, someone whose thoughts in fact turn back to your days at Old Trafford. He's Wayne Asquith of Edgehill Close.
Willie, from the beginning of your career, you're being compared with George Best. How does that strike you now?
It's been rather unfortunate that George and I have always been compared, because really we're two completely different types of players. George was more of a goal scorer and very good at coming inside and taking people on, getting into the box, whereas I've been known to stop in the 18-yard box very quickly and knock the ball off to somebody else. But as I say, we're a completely different type of players, and the only comparison really was in the way we looked on the pitch.
Yes, you can say that again. You fooled me once or twice. Willie Morgan, thank you for joining us in the firing line. But now it's time to turn our thoughts again to tomorrow's fixtures, and today's thaw has given a reprieve to a number of clubs who are fearing another postponement. So far, in fact, there are only 2 games definitely off. Tonight's match between Tranmere and York, and Blackburn versus Plymouth tomorrow. Good news for Everton fans who've been told that travel arrangements for tomorrow were cancelled. After an optimistic report from Ipswich, it's been decided that the coaches will run after all. As for the teams still hoping to play, Manchester City's Dennis Tuart has made a swift recovery, so they'll be unchanged at Aston Villa. Also unchanged at Manchester United at home to Coventry. The first Everton squad, named by acting manager Steve Burtonshaw, is 13 strong. It's the side that beat Stoke last week, plus Steve Sargent and Brian Hamilton. And in a bid to improve Everton's away record, a place may well be found for Sargent. Liverpool's Joey Jones joins Terry McDermott and John Toshak on the casualty list with a thigh injury. 20-year-old Brian Kettle, who played twice last season, comes in for the home game against West Bromwich Albion. Division 2, Oldham and Blackpool have named unchanged sides for their meeting at Boundary Park. Incidentally, Blackpool's Mike Summerby has had his operation and expects to be playing again tomorrow week. Problems in Division 3, though, for Wrexham. Alan Dwyer's dislocated shoulder is likely to keep him out for 6 weeks. That means Wayne Chigilski returns for the home game against Reading. Doubts about Bobby Shinton and Mickey Evans should be cleared up in the morning, but John Lyons and Stuart Lee are standing by. Unchanged sides, Chester at Brighton, and probably Bury at home to Rotherham. Billy Tucker has had a slight problem with a knee injury, but Bury expect him to play. Well, that's the latest team news. Now let's go on to our last bit of action. And the FA Cup certainly brought out the best from our goalkeepers, as you'll see from our selection of saves of the week.
Craigs teeing it up, belting the ball on the volley high towards that Wimbledon area, and it'll come to Armstrong, and he's hit it well, and Guy, a brilliant save. And it's not out of play yet, yes it is, but Dickie Guy, a tremendous save there, a good volley by Craigs, good thingy by him, and Armstrong did well, Guy even better. Here's Samuel's corner. Kimber whacked it, took an inflection, no, in fact it was Worthington who stuck his boot to it. Kimber whacked it, Worthington just got a toe end, Burridge just grabbed it in time. And Villa on the rampage again. That's Andy Gray, it could be there. Great save by Worthington. That's the first time in the game that Andy Gray has really had even a smell of a scoring chance. He controlled the ball well as it came to him, turned on it smartly, and missed his shot.
Naught. Jumped by Lyons. King! And it dipped, and Shilton made a brilliant save. When King hit it, it looked as though it was going over. There may just have been a deflection, and suddenly the ball dipped, and Shilton saw the danger, jumped late, and made a brilliant save. Robertson. Oh, and that could have been one back, and Lawson performed miracles. It was beautifully struck by Robertson, and Lawson timed that twist in the air to perfection. Goodless rolls it, Rioch, and he nearly made it, and only Shilton could have saved it. That was a save in 1,000. Brilliant goalkeeping. Beautifully struck by Rioch, bending inside the post, and Shilton across like a rocket. One or two candidates there for Save of the Month. But that's all for tonight. Weather permitting, we'll be back with the kick-off match at 2:05 on Sunday. Certainly be doing our best. And kick-off will be back again as usual next Friday. Till then, good night.